to the floor here, and it was Marcus Smart, as he usually is.
Brown drives, layup off the glass.
That's not the first time we've seen a superstar in green and white sacrifice his body.
Garnett knocked away. Ball game.
Hello and welcome to another episode of First to the Floor. Ben Vallis here. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're doing well. Alongside me, a man who will only enjoy Thanksgiving if the Celtics beat the Bucks tomorrow. It is Wayne Spooney. Spooney, what's up, man?
That's a fact, man. But I'm not even sure we're going to watch that game because didn't the season die last night? Isn't that what I'm reading on Twitter? It's over, right? Burn TD Garden to the ground because there's no point in continuing to play.
Yeah, Celtics Twitter, they presented the facts. The season's over. Yeah. There's no more basketball to watch. So we'll call it a day there. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Just kidding. Jake Eisenberg is also here. Jake, are we salty, Jake, today? Or are you skewing in the same direction as Spooney here? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling... I'm probably... It's weird. I'm taking the role of a little more concerned than I feel like I usually would be. That's for sure. But, you know, we've got this in-season tournament. So who needs the NBA championship when we're 2-0 in the IST? So
yeah, absolutely. And we'll wrap on the IST stuff because there's a spicy week coming up there between the December 4th and the 9th there. So a 3-1 road trip the Celtics have just arrived home from. It felt like they were... barely hanging on throughout that road trip, but they sort of came closer and closer to a loss, sort of, I guess in hindsight, inevitably ending in this overtime loss, 118 to 121 to Charlotte last night. We've got the Bucks coming up, so we've got to get our shit together. And meanwhile, we are hosting our playback room tomorrow. It's going to be Jake and I. Spooney's off Thanksgiving, and happy Thanksgiving to all those who celebrate. We don't here in Australia for the most part, so we will be hosting the playback room for Celtics Bucks, playback.tv/first to the floor. So come and join us over there for a Celtics Bucks watch party. Spooney, we just went 3-1 on this road trip, like I said. Yet something hasn't felt right these last few games. And I think if you look at Celtics Twitter, like you said, everyone's trying their best to put their finger on the pulse. Everyone's coming up with their own answer. Some are concerned, some aren't. It culminated in this loss to the Hornets last night. Why? What has changed since our hot start? Why are the Celtics wavering somewhat now?
Okay, so I actually think the Hornets loss made me feel a little bit better about things compared to the previous two. Yeah, I know. But here's why. Okay, so over these last 4 games, our offense has been 18th in the league, but they actually scored against the Hornets. It was the defense that let us down, and that's 7th in the league over those last 4 games. And I imagine the Hornets game made that look a lot worse than it was because they lit us up pretty good. But we're shooting 45% from the floor. That's 21st over the last 4 games in the league. We're only generating 20 free throws a game. That's 23rd over that time. And we're losing the turnover battle by 2 and the offensive rebound battle by 1.5. So we're basically conceding 3.5 extra possessions, and we're not scoring. So that's a tough recipe to win games. It's kind of a testament to how good the defense has been. The fact that we went 3-1 over these last 4 games. And then finally, Charlotte's a bad matchup when your offense is struggling because they can score on anybody. They just can't stop anybody. So I don't know. I'm not concerned. I think that there's a little bit too much hysterics over this recent stretch, but I definitely think we should keep an eye on this offense because we play weird. We're 28th in drives per game, 28th in passes per game, 24th in assists for the season. So it's just a bizarre kind of Jokic-y way to play offense who are behind us in all those stats except assists, and it doesn't matter. So I'm going to keep an eye on that. But I mean, the offense otherwise has been so good outside of these last couple of games that I anticipate this is just 3 games of 4 nights. They've been traveling. They've played 9 of the 15 games away from home, which is the most in the league. So it's been a tough way to open the season. And look, they lost a dumb game. It happens.
wow, Spooney in his lawyer bag today. That was, Your Honor, the defense rests. And I feel like I got to get up here. I'm like, shit, I did not prepare. My briefcase is full of beef jerky. And
mine too, honestly. Not even a joke.
Smart. That's a good snack for any briefcase.
Exactly. Low fat, low sugar, yeah.
Exactly. The 2 key criteria for any good briefcase snack. But yeah, the Celtics... It's hard to pass what is 82 games, what is PTSD. That's, I think, really good pickup on the Nuggets stats. And I think part of that is because the Celtics offense is so good at generating advantages that they generate like clean looks off like the first action, because it's like really good player Jayson Tatum or Kristaps Porzingis forces an advantage. It's a one pass to an open shooter or cutter. And so like they don't actually have to pass the ball that often because their advantages are so easy to generate. On one hand, the Celtics are just going to be one of the best teams in the league. They're gonna get to the conference finals. They're gonna win 55 plus games, hopefully 60 plus for me to win my bet. It's just, are they going to go to the next level? Like I've mentioned it a bunch of times. Every time the Celtics lose, people have been like, the Celtics lose that game last year. That's just not true. They won so many games last year, 57 games, pretty good in the clutch. And they absolutely look different in fourth quarter offense, in crunch time, the process, getting in the post, generating better looks. They absolutely have been better in the post. This team has been better to me and has the ceiling to absolutely be better once we get to the playoffs as well. It's just, are they going to buy in on a night-to-night basis to where they've truly leveled up by the time we get to the playoffs so that we can avoid the Game 5 loss against Atlanta and the Game 1 loss against Philly and stuff like that. And when things like last night and the Grizzlies game and the Raptors game start to string together and they're not like pulling themselves out of this tail slide faster than I would like them to, the PTSD comes up from guys.
Oh, yeah.
And like last night to be up 9 with 2 minutes to go and lose the game that's a game that we've lived through, unfortunately. And I think they're going to be like fine, but and we're going to tweet out how good the Celtics net rating is and the defensive rating is and the offensive rating is, because it's all going to be true. Mm-hmm. It's all going to be true. And I'm going to feel really confident about their ability to get through the playoffs against pretty much any team. But in the back of my mind, there's just this voice that's like, I'm not sure how different it really is.
Yeah, this isn't good podcasting and not objective, but I agree with both of you. Like, Spoonie, you're right in 4-game road trip. We had that signature win against Philly where we got up for it. We were down, multiple starters and we played well. And we at least approached our ceiling as far as how well this team can play against a top-tier team. And then you can just imagine from a human psychology standpoint, throttling down your enthusiasm towards a series of games on the road as far as your approach. And I think we absolutely saw that at a cascading level, culminating, like I said, last night in, for example, Jayson Tatum being backdoor cut by Gordon Hayward when the game was tied. One of a long list of plays where if you just got that right, they walk away with a disappointing win, but a win nonetheless. So I agree with Spoonie on that sense. But also, Jake, you nailed it with the PTSD. Like, the reason that this whole thing is under such a microscope is because of the trauma of last year and the characteristics that ended up bearing out when it mattered most in the playoffs. The inability to close games, inability to execute at a high level in high stakes moments. And when you get a little glimpse of it like this, even though we've talked about it so much on the show already, this team clearly is different in their behavioral traits compared to last year. And yet you get a little glimpse back into the past last night and against the Grizzlies and, like you said, against the Raptors. Suddenly it's panic stations. It's the firemen going down the pole. The bells are ringing. Like, what are we going to do? Where are we going to go? Everyone straight to Twitter to complain about how this team sucks balls and is never going anywhere. So you're both right. I guess what I want to serve up to listeners here today, and a little bit to myself as well, is the degree to which we're concerned, and I guess the case for and against being concerned. I know we've kind of touched on both sides already, but Jake, I'll throw it back at you. This Bucks game's coming up, and we're going to preview it shortly. Where are you at as far as your confidence going into this game based on what we've seen on this road trip?
High. My confidence is high. And I think that we've learned that from this team, though, which it's the back against the wall Celtics over the past 2 years, right? Up until they go down 3-0 against the Heat. It was pretty much like the safest bet you could make. Celtics lose a game, especially in the playoffs, they're coming out the next night and going to play some of their best basketball. I absolutely expect them all to be locked in. Like we got the legend, we got bald Derek White back tomorrow night. Al Horford back tomorrow night again. Important to note that we didn't have them yesterday. Which if they have them, they go ahead, Ben. I can see.
Well, just that we haven't won a game without Derek White, which means we haven't lost a game without Derek White.
Yeah, obviously it's Jayson. No, yeah, we have. Oh no, we lost one because it was the Philly game.
Yeah, the first Philly game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was living in a fantasy world for a moment there.
Well, no, I mean, honestly, it all blends together.
It doesn't count though because it wasn't the real Derek White because he was running on like 3 nights sleep deprivation. So really,
Middleton didn't play.
Exactly. Yeah. So it doesn't
Thank
count.
you.
I forgot what we were talking about there. Exactly what I was saying.
Confidence going into the Bucks game based on the shit
We're going to
show of
win.
this road trip.
We're going to destroy them. We're going to kick the shit out of them. And we're going to be the better team going into a series. It's a sustained focus. That's what I want to see. Like this team's, if they're going to be healthy, they should win 60+ games. That's how good they are. That's how good they've proved to be already. And last year's team with the lapses that we're talking about getting to 57, this team is better. They should get to 60+, 62. Like that's how dominant the 5 guys have been when they're all together on the court. What we've seen. And it's lulled here a little bit. And it's early enough in the season with new guys like Porzingis and Drew, the renewed coaching staff, Missoula second year. I promise you that he's aware this is happening as well. All the things that I've been really confident in and excited about are still true. And they can make it an emphasis to fix some of this stuff going forward. Like Jayson and Jalen are kind of culprits for this going back years now. And now they have people around them to hold them accountable, and they need to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Spoonie?
a little positive propaganda here.
Yeah,
all right. When last year's team was ahead or tied in crunch time, minus 5.5 net rating, absolutely atrocious. Like terrible. This year, ahead or tied in crunch time, plus 13.3, which is absolutely incredible. We're crushing teams in crunch time when we have a 5-point lead or less or are tied. That's awesome. That was the problem last year. And this is really the first game of the season where it's kind of reared its head, where it's like, oh my God, they coughed up a big lead and lost, right? So I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. Like, you can't win in that situation every single time. We're not the Miami Heat. We don't have Spo throwing mushrooms into a cauldron and like spinning it around and like, it's just like they're an anomaly when it comes to that. And they blow leads in clutch time too. So they've so far been awesome when the game is on the line. Last night, that was very much not the case. And that's why I go back to, like, I wonder what teams' records are on the third game in 4 nights, second night of a back-to-back, all 3 on the road. I bet you the record is absolutely terrible. It's really hard to keep, like, your playoff mental intensity as well as physical intensity when you're on that type of situation, when you've played that many games in a row, when you've been traveling. And, like, the lapses were disgusting. I actually thought the Memphis game was way worse. Like, that was pathetic,
absolutely,
man.
yeah.
I hated that. Is like the most I've hated how they played since like the first half of the Ime season. That game was so bad. I almost wish they lost that one and won the Charlotte game. But regardless, it all comes out in the wash. So I guess what I'm saying is I am not concerned yet. If they blow out.
Thank you.
Sorry, I had to do that.
I'll leave it at that.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
Please. That was perfect. Yeah.
That's perfect, Spoonie. I do think yet is, actually, thankfully, I don't have real PTSD. I just have Celtics PTSD from the last 2 playoff runs. Mm-hmm. And it's just, it's something to note. They could easily win the Bucks game, go on a run, and they're not going to win every game. It's an 82-game season. If you win 60 games, you got to lose 22. Like, that's a lot of losses, and they're on pace to win 60+ still. It's just, I know that in the past I specifically definitely hand-waved a lot of these losses last year. And so I'm just more on my toes personally this year where like going into the Hawks series and going into the Philly series and the Heat series, I was like, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. We're the better team, and it was fine until it wasn't.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is a different argument to last year as well, but like a huge factor the last few playoff runs has been like fatigue the deeper you go into the playoffs. And is it therefore not reasonable for the guys to look at this stretch? Like, yes, it's a road trip, but against middling to bottom end teams, let's just like try and kind of coast through this a little bit. Like, I understand, like, yes, Kaizen behind me on the
I was going to say, it's literally, literally.
I'm in the gym with the guys trying to get their minds right for tomorrow. As is my level of expertise and qualifications. But I digress. Is that not a reasonable approach? I know there's arguments on both sides of this, so I just think it seems like a logical human behavior to kind of like half-ass it through a stretch of the schedule here.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
I get what you're saying, Jake. Is like you practice makes permanent, right? If you don't play intensely in these types of like low energy situations, when you have low energy in the playoffs, the bad habits are going to come out to play. And I just think like offensively, they're playing so damn lazy. Like it is just like initial action, quick mismatch, take a kind of okay shot. Like especially against Memphis, we are going to see other teams defend us for the rest of the year how Memphis did, and just do not send help, make us beat you in isolation one-on-one. And do not let us get a bunch of catch and shoot threes, because that's when we're at our best. That's really when most teams are at our best. Like, so we're going to have to get creative. And I thought we started to against Charlotte. We saw the Pritchard Tatum pick and pop, and it worked for a wide open Pritchard three. A couple Hauser Tatum pick and pops, and that stuff's working. It puts they're probably being guarded by the worst defender on the team, so it puts that defender who sucks in a very tough position. And it works, and it's creative, and it's different than Tatum, KP, pick and roll. They switch it. He posts up, like, which is great and works and has its moments. But also, you just got to throw different looks at defenses, and we're not passing and we're not driving. So, like, what the hell are we doing? We're ISOing and posting up. Like, that is not an efficient way to generate offense over 82 games. It's just not.
It's funny though, like. It's kind of like practicing crunch time offense all the time.
It is. Yeah. That's so
That's
true.
not good for the anxiety levels.
Maybe that's the plan, though. It's like we're just going to pretend like it's a close game in the last 5 minutes from the jump, and then so we're absolutely ready to go. Because when it does slow down in the playoffs, you know what's really good to be good at is isolation scoring and post scoring, and that like those developments, I think objectively are far more important and significant and lead to what they can do and how they can be different in the playoffs than dropping this game against Charlotte in a vacuum. It's really hard for me to just be like, it means nothing. It means nothing. This won't come up again. It's like, fool me once, fool me twice, fool me 1 billion times. I'm ready to not get. I was trying. Maybe this is what happens when like people have been cheated on, like,
been
lots
hurt.
of times.
Yeah.
It's like,
You don't wipe the slate clean at the beginning of the new season?
Apparently not. This is like the first time ever that I've not done it. I'm a trusting guy. Too trusting.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm bad at lying. I'm an honest person. Both my mom and wife know when I'm lying. Even on the phone, it's like, nope, I haven't done those chores that I was asked to do, and I'll do them now. But so I'm done. They've hurt me, man. They should have won by now.
A couple years as well of like hardcore podcasting about the Celtics will change a person as well, which it seems to have done to all of us. Teams are throwing different looks at us as well, and bottom level teams like the Hornets have games like this. We talked about it in the last podcast. The Celtics have a target on their back, where this is like the most important game of the month, if not the year, for these low end teams to get a really good look at elite teams like the Celtics. And this one, the Hornets went to zone quite early in the game, like in the first quarter. And I don't have the stats on how frequently the Hornets go zone, but very quickly, I think like 1 or 2 possessions in, we started getting the ball to Porzingis at the nail. We went away from pick and roll. We went away from ISO. We started like launching the ball into Porzingis around the free throw line and allowing him to go to work. And I know we're going to get to some of his and one stuff later, but he was able to generate like some awesome offense. And just how quickly we went to that, given our past struggles with the zone. Again, it's another differentiator from last year to this year. So I guess there were some positive takeaways from this game at a micro level as well. One thing I want to get to is Jaylen Brown, because he was brought up on Zach Lowe's podcast earlier today. And I've got some clips that I want to run you through, a couple that are contrary to what Zach Lowe was talking about, and some that very much back up exactly what he was saying. But first of all, the comments are flowing in here. We'd love to see all the comments. We're going to bring some up on screen as we go through the show. If you're here, please like the stream. We've found that these calls to action really help people actually click on the like button if we tell them to. So please, if you're here, if you want to support the show, help us navigate the algorithm, click the like button, subscribe, whether you're watching on the CLNS channels or over on the First of the Floor channels where we host the majority of our shows, actually all of our shows. Please subscribe to that channel as well. We'd really appreciate it. So, Jaylen Brown. But first of all, do both of you guys know what I'm talking about? Have you heard Zach Lowe's little session on Jaylen Brown from earlier today?
I posted a little clip on it, and I was like, I know it's going to get likes and retweets, and I feel a little dirty about it, but it's just kind of the truth at the moment. So let's see how we go.
Well, yeah, and sort of his angle was like, come the playoffs, come like championship basketball, games on the line, series on the line, title on the line. Like, there's going to be some level of reliability on Jaylen Brown just because of the percentage of the salary cap that he takes up, his role on the team. And then, like, zooming out a little bit, it took into question his understanding of his role on the team as well. So we've got a couple of clips here in line with what Zach Lowe was talking about. This is Jaylen Brown late in the game. ISO, dribbles into an elite rim protector, Mark Williams there, puts up a terrible shot despite many open teammates around him. And similar here, Pritchard sets the pick for him. Just dribbles into a very contested free throw line shot despite Tatum being out open just behind him to reset the offense. Plenty of time left on the shot clock, and just like tunnel vision, despite, the game being on the line, despite his many open teammates around him, just an inability to really generate any sort of high-level offense from a team perspective. Thoughts on that, guys? Is this a long-term problem, or is this new? I think I know the answer to that. I don't know why I asked that question. Very much a long-term problem. Thoughts?
Well, I don't know, man. Like, yeah, he could have easily found guys, and it's just not Jaylen, right? Like, to make those quick decisions in those moments, I'm not sure he has the capability to do it. The difference is he's just not making shots right now. Like, both of those shots, I know he can make. Like, either of those shots, he got to go 1 for 2 in those. How many times has Jaylen Brown made huge buckets, like, fading away over, like, tough defenders? Yes, he could have made a better play, but honestly, man, he's got to just start making some of these shots. Some of them, he doesn't need to force it so much and take as difficult shots. But man, like that first one over Mark Williams, like he can make that shot easily. I've seen him make that shot 1,000,000 times.
Yeah, and the second one too, I think was a better look as well. And like he makes that middle like 12-footer all day long. But he's not. I don't like how he's playing off ball, and I felt like he's been playing much better off ball recently until this stretch. Like we had a couple actions where we're setting double pin downs for him, and he's like jogging around the picks. That is not going to create, you're not going to stress the defense at all. They're basically just going to ignore you. And Jaylen Brown, you're our second best offensive player. If you're allowing the defense to ignore you, that kind of blows up the action entirely, right? Because we're wasting time occupying 2 guys off ball to get you open, and you're not taking it seriously and trying to get open. And now we're left, okay, so now there's 10 seconds left on the shot clock. We got to go to a pick and roll. Guys don't know where they're supposed to go because they were expecting Jaylen to get the ball, but he didn't cut hard enough. And it's just like, what are we doing here, JB? Like the missing shots is an issue. I think he's like I don't know what his 3-point shooting is down to now. I should have checked that.
Now.
Yeah, and he was hot.
But you take out just the one Wizards game, and that's really like 30.
Yeah, which is terrible. Like that's just not good enough, man. Like even if it was 34, like a more steady 34%, like that would be okay. But I mean, he's just been ice cold, and he just like recently he has not looked really locked in off the ball, and he just needs to be.
So the off-ball issues that you mentioned there, is that why you go on-ball, Jaylen, dribble, shoot offense here? Because that's kind of what bothers me. And Jake, you've alluded to this with you taking his understanding of his role into question, where you've got all of this talent on the team now, and they're all there on the court. And, we can include Pritchard in that, comment based on in a vacuum of this game because he was incredible in this game. And yet, like, they're all standing there relatively motionless, uninvolved in the offense. I refuse to believe that is the best look that you can go to down the stretch in critical late game possessions. So I guess it just confounds me as to why we're doing that so late in the game, despite his natural scoring ability.
Yeah, that totally fair as well. It's just like, but I guess my point on that is just like he's missing these types of shots from the first quarter all the way through the fourth quarter. But you're right. In the fourth quarter, in crunch time, they should be being more purposeful, and getting like dribble ISO Jaylen Brown possessions are not your best option, obviously, because that leads to turnovers, and you're just not stressing the defense when they have so much talent and so many ways to create advantages. You can get easier looks, and they have been generating easier looks. Derek White's been knocking down clutch, wide open corner threes like over and over and over again. And again, he wasn't there yesterday, but Jaylen Brown misses Pritchard wide open in the corner, who was 5 for 8 from 3 yesterday. And again, like it just really shouldn't be in his hands to initiate possessions late in games, and that's it.
Yeah, I guess the thinking is like you don't need to do anything with Tatum, and he's going to get a ton of defensive attention no matter what. So if you plop him in the corner and run a pick and roll with Jaylen, it should be easy. But he just is not a high enough level decision maker. I'm not sure Drew is either, unfortunately, which is also terrifying because now what? When Derek White's not playing. There's not really another option in that case. And we eventually just went to Tatum, and I thought he was okay at the end of the game. Like, he just biffed that layup. That
two
was
of them,
beautiful. Yeah, biffed 2 layups that he always makes, probably shooting 85% on that type of shot this season. So just kind of unlucky there, but, like, it should have never got down to where we had to make a layup in order to win this game, really.
Up 9, 2 minutes to go, 98.7 win probability, Jake. Like, yeah. Sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah, no. In Zach Lowe was also saying that it's not just the fourth quarter either. It's like in the second quarter they're up 12, and it's like, why are you taking these hero ball shots? We don't need you to take these hero ball shots. And it is a balance, because you have to understand who he is as a player and what he's capable of, and you need to just live with a certain amount of ISO ball from Jaylen Brown. Like, that's just the reality of it, because that's who he is as a player, and his ability to read the floor is always going to be not as good as other players. But, man, consistently just not making the right play. And we just need him to make the right play a little bit more, and the offense looks completely different. Ironically, if he makes the right play more often, it's going to help him. Like, he absolutely, if he's able to find himself in this offense and figure out the role, he has the potential to be his most efficient self that he's been in years, really. Like, the amount of open shots that we're able to generate, the KP game, 2-man game that we've seen bits and pieces of, is absolutely, that's the beginning of finding that efficient Jaylen Brown, because he has the athleticism to just like absolutely dust guys in so many different situations. It's leveraging that as opposed to just trying to do it off the bounce, where the dribbling is often a concern. So that was the biggest concern kind of coming in, really, was can Jaylen Brown figure out his role? And so far, he really hasn't figured out the role yet. But again, we're 15 games into the season, and the beginnings of the 2-man game with KP, that's a point in the column of, like, he's definitely trying. Mm-hmm. He has been at least definitely trying. Maybe the last few games, not so much, but there was initially, it felt like buy-in across the board. But it's got to kind of get back to that.
Yeah, well, I mean, look at these plays from earlier in the game. He has exhibited some playmaking chops here. He just drives the gap, draws 2, kicks out to Pritchard, who is hot. Bang, 3-pointer, simple play. He made the right play, easy. And then on this next play, this could go either way, because he misses the initial pass to an open Porzingis here, but then the patience and the mindset to cut from Porzingis just leaves an open Drew Holiday there, who sort of floats up to the wing. I actually like the patience on that play from Jaylen to not make the initial pass and wait for the better shot to open up. So, and that was late in the game as well. So he's bits and pieces, he's sort of putting it together. But yeah, I want to just reiterate that my gripe is like late game, and I think we can agree that there are better looks available. But this is why we're here podcasting from various locations across the globe and not anything or anywhere to do with the Celtics. With that, we're just going to have a break and get a quick word from our sponsor, FanDuel. Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/Boston and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
I got to be honest. I did think that the Celtics would be and Bucks line would be closer than it is. It's Celtics -5. Like they're pretty heavily favored going into tomorrow's game, which I guess is a good thing. But I think just take Celtics -5. I'm pretty confident that they're going to come to play tomorrow, and if they do, that the matchup with this team I like it.
I agree. Yeah, I mean the Bucks. We'll preview the game in full, so maybe I'll save my thoughts till then. But just on it being an exciting game, the Bucks have been finding themselves lately. But I just think that we've got the tools in the tool bag, for lack of a better term, to go at them and particularly exploit their lacking perimeter defense there. So we'll see. Let's end, I guess, the analysis, if you want to call it that we've just been taking everyone through, on some more positives from the game in a world that is just spewing Celtics negativity about this 11-3 team. There were some fine points to take away from last night's game, and particularly Peyton Pritchard, unfortunately coinciding with a huge drop-off in Sammy House Money's three-point production there. But Pritchard, Spoonie, I mean, we've been keeping a close eye on PP all season now. Now he's finally... I don't know. I'm not going to go where I want to go, but he's finally come to play. What were your thoughts on Pritchard's explosion last night?
It was dynamite, man. Caught me right in the face, totally off guard. But I'm glad he finally got rewarded by having some shots go down, because he's been playing his ass off all season. He really has. Like, he's obviously got limitations, but he's been doing what he's asked for, I would say, the last 6, 7, 8 games, and he's just slowly but surely kind of been building the confidence. So you kind of felt like a game like this for him was coming, because I think he has been really solid recently. And yeah, dude, he was awesome. Like, he had those 2 drives. One was on Bryce McGowan's where he just absolutely cleared him out with the shoulder.
Yes.
That might even been in the late third quarter too. It was kind of a big play, straight up in ISO. And it's like, all right, dude, this is the guy that Brad Stevens gave $30 million to, like the guy he trusts to be an actual producer off the bench. And if he's making shots, he got cooked sometimes, but overall I thought defensively he was totally fine. He's a 6'1" bench guard. Like, he's going to get cooked. So did Ish Smith. That's why they're not starters. So yeah, it was awesome. Hopefully he keeps it up. Hopefully we can have 2 good white shooters off the bench and not they just keep rotating back and forth. But when both of them are clicking, we're going to be really dangerous.
Yeah, finally, this is the guy, dude. We were all super excited about Pritchard coming to this year. I've been very bullish on Pritchard's ability to be an impactful NBA player. I definitely wavered a little bit on the shot. I was like, Hauser, not worried. That dude was put on God's green earth to knock down 3-pointers. Pritchard, even though we had honestly not quite as good of a sample size, a very long sample size of him being a really good shooter, they just weren't falling, but it definitely felt more like confidence versus a skill issue. Like the way that he was shooting it, you could just tell that he wasn't quite firing at will like he has in the past. And yesterday was a complete opposite. We had the classic 2-for-1. Pritchard had one of those buzzer beaters against the Hawks last year late. He has the 2-for-1 where he hits both the 3 from the left wing with 33 seconds left, and then also finishes off the 2-for-1 by exploding at the end of the quarter as well. So the fact that he goes 21 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 0 turnovers on 57% from the field, that was a real game, and it's really frustrating because when you're getting that from Pritchard, that should be a double-digit win every night. And something else that he's doing that is important to note, which I almost forgot just now, his assist to turnover ratio, which is something this team really struggles with really across the board between Tatum, Jaylen, and Drew. 5.75 assists for every turnover. He's really been taking care of the ball, and part of that has been like, I think, the hesitancy where he's not really forcing stuff, so he's not turning the ball over. But regardless, that's a really good sign, and if him actually being able to do that and lead an all bench lineup and extend the lead against another team yesterday, I thought was absolutely huge and really could be a far more important and a way more significant sign than the Celtics actually losing the game to Charlotte. Because if this is like, okay, Pritchard's now off and turning into the guy that we thought he could be coming into this season, then this game could not matter less.
Thank you.
Jake, that was good. That was well done. Yeah, absolutely. I've got nothing to add to that, but you touched on the positive point that I wanted to get to after this game, which was that all-bench lineup to start the fourth quarter, who handed like a lead back to the starters as they came in and unfortunately pissed the game down their leg. But yeah, Pritchard was leading and playmaking for that unit, but I thought O'Shea Brissett was really good in this game with these like kamikaze rim crashes. Just no concern as to what will happen after he gets up at rim level, which is both terrifying and extremely entertaining to watch. That's really good. The bench has been a concern, obviously, prior to the season, and we've sort of only seen bits and pieces of them interspersed with the starters for the most part, unless it's garbage time. And so to see them come out and play like legitimate minutes and uphold and even build a lead at this point in the season was really promising as well. We've also been tracking curveballs, right? That's something that Joe Mazzulla brought up prior to the season, and it looks like a new one is emerging, Jake, with Kristaps Porzingis and his ability to get to the free throw line and score at the same time, the old school three-pointer. What have you been seeing in that sense?
Yeah, this is just something fun that I feel like I've noticed is that he's got incredible touch around the basket in general, and is just a ridiculously skilled offensive player, regardless of the fact that he's 7'3". Like if he was 6'3", I think he'd probably still be in the NBA just because of how versatile he is. But something that he's been really good at has been getting fouled down low here, and then just like also finishing the and ones. And there's just as a fan, there's nothing better than an and one, right? Like Porzingis just getting down here on Mitchell Robinson and these guys that get underneath him in the post, and he gets the foul and he's able to flip these really difficult shots in from like close to the basket or 6 to 8 feet kind of outside. And it just we really feel like we're underutilizing him at the moment, where he's incredibly efficient, but man, he's getting to the line whenever he wants. He's finishing these and ones. The 3-point shot is kind of fallen off a little bit lately, as kind of has the 3-point shot of like the whole team. That's also something to take into consideration, is where we're like 12th or something, I think, in the league in 3-point percentage, which when you look at the career averages, a lot of these shooters, we should be high up. Drew's at 34, he should be at 40, KP's kind of dropped down. But Porzingis feels a little underutilized because he has all these these micro skills that can just get the Celtics out of jams. I feel like Tatum's missing him because they're getting these switches and then Tatum attacks the switch, which is totally fine. But KP's one of the most efficient players in the NBA right now, and I'd like to see him get the chance to get more M1s. But if you get to the line, KP, just go better than 6 for 10, please.
Make them, please. That's all we ask. Yeah. It's almost like there's like a usage, true shooting percent, like efficiency matrix, right? Like at some point you hit the perfect amount of usage at like your top efficiency. And Kristaps has got 76% true shooting percentage, which is like insane. That is
like
especially for a guy. Yeah, right. And Rob only dunked.
Yes.
But he's only got 21.5 usage, and both the Jays are around 28, 29. Like, if his efficiency dips a little bit, but his usage comes up a lot, that's still going to be a huge win for the Celtics, especially if it comes at the expense of Jaylen Brown, who's not been super efficient this year.
We have to flip Jaylen and KP's usage. That would be what I would do, right?
Yeah, and politically, I think that might be very difficult. Like, I think Tatum has found it. He's at like 62 true shooting percentage, which is way above league average, and on huge usage. So like, he's good. we're good with him. It's just the mix between JB and Kristaps, I think, needs to lean more KP. And those and ones, I do not know how he makes them.
Yeah,
they are so ugly. He like flops like a fish, and then all of a sudden it's like not even touching rim. I'm like, and he keeps doing it, so it's real. Like, it's not just a fluke that he's done twice. It's got to be like 10 of them.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. A little crazy touchdown there. He's got it both hands, fading, going through contact. I love it.
And just the ability to generate offense when our threes aren't going down, and including Porzingis, who has been shooting terribly from behind the arc. And yet, again, going back to the curveball concept, like, we have these abilities to just like throw it down to the big fella, which is a tale as old as time as far as the game of basketball is concerned, and just like get to the free throw line or get buckets. So huge, and a huge reason why we've been winning despite playing relatively like shit this last week or so. So that's been huge. Guys, let's end on previewing the Bucks game. Little nervous. I think there's an air of confidence between us, but like, you know, everyone here, I think, watching the stream and listening to the podcast later on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, please subscribe, rate, and review, can relate to this mindset of like, day is either like made or completely ruined based on the performance of the Celtics. And so coming off this like bad vibes period, which we're doing our best to rebuild on this show, we really need this win, like psychologically speaking, from the fan perspective. I think it's going to help the guys in the locker room as well, obviously, to get a big win against what is, I guess you could be considered a now up-and-coming Bucks team. They're starting to figure it out. So with all that said, some deets here. It's a home game. Not a minor detail. You know, been off on the road for 4 games now, back in TD Garden, Thanksgiving. The Bostonians are going to be lick it up. It's going to be a raucous environment. It's going to be the Spoonies nodding like, oh yes, I know from experience. But the Bucks have won 5 in a row. And there are some interesting sort of differences between how the Celtics like to play defense and the way that the Bucks play offense. For example, the Celtics are really good at limiting corner threes, but they give up a lot of above the break threes. And to Damian Lillard, who loves those above the break threes, that's just one example that's going to make it an interesting matchup. Spoonie, what are your thoughts going into this one? We've talked about the confidence factor, but just from an X's and O's standpoint, how do you see this going down?
Yeah, so I've not caught a ton of the Bucks. I think I've watched like 1.5 of their games. So I'm not really sure what they're trying to do defensively this year. I mean, last year, like, they were so static and restricted in how they played defense. Like, we just knew how to attack them. I think they're a little more aggressive this year. They try to get up into ball handlers, but that also means like they're conceding a lot more space and driving lanes that they didn't in the past. So I think the key to this game offensively for the season is going to be drive and kick game. Like, get back to what you were good at last year that has kind of gone away a little bit. I'll be interested to see how much they switch Dame pick and rolls where Dame is defending, because like he is just terrible and he cannot guard Kristaps Porzingis. So if they switch that, they're going to have to send help from somewhere, and then you got to open shooter. So I think it's just going to be really easy for the Celtics to generate good looks, and it's just a matter of knocking them down, which we seem to do against Milwaukee often. And then defensively, it always comes down to, I mean, stopping Giannis and now Dame. I think realistically, I'm not sure what we're going to do on Giannis with the starters out there. I think we might go Drew on him, honestly, with the way he's been having Drew play defense. He was on Embiid. Like, Giannis is a similar build of a guy. And then you just have Derek, like, handcuffed to Dame and, you know, play like a really high drop coverage or like light traps or like hedge him and just let Derek get around that screen and get back in front of him and hope he doesn't make 12 pull-up threes, because if he does, like, you know, there's nothing you can do. That's why he's one of the best scorers ever. But it should be fun.
Oh yeah, very exciting. The Bucks defense, they've kind of reined that in a little bit, like the pressure on ball handlers and stuff, and gone a little bit back into what they were doing last year. Their defense is atrocious, has been atrocious. They stabilized defensively a little bit for a second there, but then yesterday against the Wizards, they gave up 129 points, which I don't have to tell everybody here. The Wizards are a disaster. I'm just trying to look up the Wizards offense here. But the Bucks were losing to the Wizards in the fourth quarter yesterday. They were able to get that one done. The Wizards have the 22nd ranked offense, and they're able to put up 129 yesterday in regulation. The Bucks have been decimated across the board. Like, Drew Holiday was holding their defense together, because now they just, without Middleton playing well defensively on the perimeter. They can't contain anybody, and it just ends up leaving, offensive rebounds, all that kind of stuff. You have to get back to the drive and kick game. Defensively, I know we talked about getting Al Horford in there to the starting lineup for the Sixers game. I'm not sure it's as important for this matchup because I don't think they're just going to sit there and post up Brook Lopez or Giannis. It's not really the way they run stuff, so I'm not really as concerned. I'm very intrigued to see how Porzingis goes playing against this team and playing against Giannis. But yeah, I think Jalen and Drew Holiday being Jalen. Let's give Jalen a really important job and make him feel important, and so he locks the fuck in.
I think that's maybe necessary. You've got to get him focused on a narrow task to keep him involved, and we've seen success against the Bucks in that frame of thinking as well in recent history. So I like that. I'm a little worried about Porzingis in this game, not offensively. I feel confident in his ability to space the floor like against any other opponent this year. I do see him being slammed into the basket by Giannis on 5 or 10 occasions throughout this game. It just feels like there's a huge physicality disparity there if he finds himself, down in drop, protecting the rim, and Giannis is coming downhill. I mean, it's a short list of people who can succeed under those circumstances defensively, but I worry for Porzingis in that particular environment that he's likely to find himself in.
Yeah, that's going to happen. But yeah, if you go back to the playoff series against the Bucks, Giannis did a lot of dunking in that series as well. It's going to happen. It's, can you limit the efficiency? Can you have well-timed double teams? Can you force a couple of turnovers? He's gonna get his one way or another. It's, can they just limit it and then also shut down everybody else? Because I do feel kind of good about that. It's you just lock down on Dame and their role players who you just don't, no one scares you right now. Unless Middleton has an OG Celtics killer game, it's who's Malik Beasley, the corpse of Jay Crowder, Pat Connaughton's been struggling. It really is a Dame and Giannis show unless Middleton really is able to turn back the clock. So I think Derek all over Porzingis in navigating those screens, playing drop coverage, and you're trying to get help when they feed Giannis. You want to get him to take as many of those kind of mid-range jumpers as possible, and which he's been knocking more down this year than last year, but forcing him into that kind of mid-range, just get the efficiency down. He can drop 40 on 50%. It's, can you stop him from dropping 42 on 66%? That's I think yesterday he was 20 from 23 or something against the Wizards. So it's just can we just avoid that where he's having 7 assists on top of it as well?
Keep the and ones down. I feel like he feeds off and ones because he can't shoot threes, so that is, he relies a lot on that for his efficiency as well as free throws, even though he's not a great free throw shooter. Yeah, Chris Middleton's shooting 31% from 3 this year, and he's playing 20 minutes a night. So I know what's going to happen. He's going to go 4 or 6 and play 28 minutes, but he's just not been that guy this season. So I would attack him defensively too, because I just don't think he's in full high intensity game shape right now either. So it just really, I think often it comes down against teams like the Bucks. Can we hit enough open threes to kind of loosen up that defense? And that first game against Philly, that was our downfall, and really the Minnesota game too. We just didn't even crack really 30% from 3. If that's around 35-36%, the offense is going to click. And then, Jake, you nailed it on the head with defending Giannis. Just he gets 4 or 5 layups, that's fine, but, if he takes 30 shots and scores 30 points, we're good. It's when he scores 30 points on 14 shots that you're in trouble. So, but I still like how we match up with them, especially with Derek and Drew to throw at Dame for 48 minutes, essentially, or 36, however many he plays.
I'd feel comfortable trapping Dame. Get the ball out of Dame's hands, and then you're rotating either Giannis in that middle zone, and you recover back, and you get out to shooters. He's definitely been heating up lately. I was having a look at his box scores because he's shooting 33% 3% from 3 on the year, but last 4 games, 3 for 6 yesterday, 4 for 11, 5 for 10, 4 for 10 in the last 4 games. So he's definitely been getting going from 3 lately. And that's just that's another thing you don't want, right? You don't want Dame going 6 for 11 from 3, and then he gets to the line really well. Like he shot 11 free throws yesterday, 10 before that. He was 15 for 16 recently, 12 for 13, 9 for 10, 12 for 12. Just make him uncomfortable. Get physical with him, because I think you really can, and go at him on the other end. Like anyone that's on the court, all 5 guys can put him in the post. So whoever's got him, just like start the action on Dame and try to wear him down.
Drew Holiday posting up Dame. Like the Drew Holiday revenge game, by the way, which is a huge narrative going into this one. It's probably going to be spicier when we head into Milwaukee eventually, but Drew Holiday is going to be, I guess, coming out with a thirst for blood in this one, in that, like his family came out with some not too positive terms about the Bucks organization after the trade went down. He's probably looking to get his in this game, hopefully exclusively on the defensive end, because we talked about on late night last night, Jake, like, is Drew doing too much lately? And that's of Derek White's many positive attributes, one of the best ones is that he limits Drew's getting too involved in too many things, especially on the offensive side. Derek White's going to come back. We've got a clean health report going into tomorrow's game, touch wood. But the Drew Holiday factor to me is just from a pure entertainment standpoint, and obviously defending Dame and switching onto Giannis potentially is huge for tomorrow's game as well. Any other thoughts, guys? I've got a few little stats here. So we mentioned that the Bucks are trending upwards. They're 4th in overall point differential in the league over the past 2 weeks per cleaning the glass, but their defense is still floundering down at 15th in the past 2 weeks as well. So they have made some adjustments. They have switched back to that drop style defense with Brook Lopez, but defense still massively lacking even in a short-term look back.
I'm excited. This chat has got me revved up. I guess I've been so focused on the last 3 games, I haven't been thinking that much about the Bucks game, but now I'm like, who cares, dude? It's prime time. It's ESPN, whatever it is. It's Giannis, Tatum. Let's go. I'm ready for this.
This is a playoff data point, right? Like whatever happens in this game, whatever the data comes out of it is useful for us in terms of the how we frame our mindset going into the playoffs. Whereas the Hornets game, hopefully, we're just going to see that as a blip going forward.
Yeah, exactly, man. And whatever team wins will use this relentlessly until the next game online and through the fan bases. And
especially
if we lose,
the
it will
fans.
be insufferable. Yeah, exactly.
But if we do lose, it's just November.
Doesn't matter.
And
Yeah.
if we do win, then this is why the Celtics are the favorites.
Yeah. I've been thinking we should get a psychologist on this podcast soon, just to help us sort of define some of these thoughts and emotions that we put out on a regular basis. And maybe put together a playbook, a fandom playbook, and you can dust one off in losses, and you can dust another one off on like how to behave with class and how to gloat with class online in the case of wins. But maybe that's an off-season show for us.
Yeah, definitely. Like, show me where the Celtics hurt you. I think could be a whole session.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. Let's end on this. So after the Bucks game, we've got a lot of home games. Not one of them, this is a poorly framed segment, is the in-season tournament game in Orlando, which could be huge, I think, depending on what happens with the Raptors-Orlando game today. And then we've got a 3-game homestand after that. Atlanta, Chicago, Philly, 2 of which are extremely winnable games. But then December 4th or 5th, depending on how the schedule shakes out, it's time for in-season tournament knockout round. And then I was trying to make sense of the schedule. I've got the picture here, I think. Maybe I didn't upload it. Here we go. This is what the schedule looks like on the Celtics website. A lot of asterisks, a lot of disclaimers, very confusing. But essentially, between this December 6th and 9th stage, there's a lot of currently unscheduled games against unknown opponents that if we continue to win will take us all the way to Vegas for potentially the championship in-season tournament game. And that's December 9th. So this is all coming up in the short term. Yep. So I don't know. I don't have any leading questions here, guys. Just this is all new. This is all exciting.
Yeah, it's weird.
What happens if we play the Nuggets, or have we played a West team? Yeah. What happens if we play the Timberwolves in the finals, right? Ooh. Do we cancel the next game again, or do we play them 3 times and cancel? We only play Charlotte twice or something. How does that work?
Yeah, call in.
I guess
call in if you know.
Yeah. I guess in the semifinals, because the finals aren't don't count as a regular season game, right?
Correct.
That's
So
the
I
only-
think if it's the finals, then maybe like it doesn't change the schedule at all. Yeah. But I wonder if the bracket's broken into East and West for this exact reason, where like, which is annoying because I was excited to get more like quarterfinals. It's Celtics, Timberwolves, or whatever, because you want more East-West matchups because that's just fun. But my guess now, talking it out, is probably that you're playing East teams up until the finals.
Yeah, that'd be nice. We'll see. I mean, it's so much is unknown, literally, just based on the schedule thus far. But I'm excited, venturing into the unknown. I suppose It's all very new and spicy and exciting, and it's going to be interesting to see as the games get more important from like an in-season tournament presentation perspective. If the guys dial up their intensity on the court, given what is being presented as high stakes, but we're not really sure if they're feeling it in that sense yet.
I don't know. I feel like they got to get Hauser 500K. That's Cater 500K. Banton, these boys, like they're not going to be the ones playing. So it's like, hey, Tatum, Jalen, can you please make the right play? Because I can make 25% of my yearly salary today.
Yeah,
that would be nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've not really thought about that wrinkle, but yeah, that's kind of weird. Yeah, because like 500K to Tatum is absolutely nothing, but Luke Cornett's like, come on, guys.
It's like,
please just make shots. Yeah.
So do you play the bench in late game, crunch time? Like these guys want it so badly. Luke Cornett's going to be out there throwing elbows, old school, like posting up, just doing everything you can to win. We'll see.
Yes.
We'll see.
Yes. Well, and then we got the Magic game, which is both a Magic game and an IST game. Like, That's always a weird matchup. 6:30 a.m. Australia time, which for that one. But yeah, I'm excited to see how we play against Orlando this year. Hopefully, this is a year that we can actually beat them. That would be cool.
Yes. Huge data point on the schedule coming up.
Yeah.
What happens against Orlando?
We might see them in the first round. That's terrifying.
Yeah, absolutely. And then after the IST little batch there from the middle of the schedule, we've got 4 more home games, which is important, I think. This road trip sucked a little bit, even though we came away from it 3-1. So I'm excited to see just a long home stint there. I think that's going to be good for everyone to sleep in their own bed and that kind of thing.
For sure. And there's still time for us to develop into like one of those insane home juggernaut teams, which we were not really last year. We've kind of been a really good road team we've been a really good team, full stop, the last couple of years, but specifically it felt like, and in the playoffs, they kind of struggled at home. It would be really awesome to develop, the Nuggets were in the mid, like the 30s with their home wins last year, and to have like TD Garden be like this cauldron where you can feel really confident about every home game, that would be nice. And we haven't had the chance to do that. I think we're undefeated at home. No?
I want to say yes.
Yeah, because we lost in Minnesota, in Philly, and in Charlotte. So
huge win streak
coming
up.
Undefeated at home. And undefeated with Derek White when he has sleep.
That's right. That's right. All right. Good. This was good for me, guys. This is a good outpouring of positive vibes, which it always is. So a reminder, if you're watching the show, you're new to the show, please subscribe to the First of the Floor channel or the CLNS channels. Like the stream wherever you're watching. Really appreciate you guys watching the live stream here. That is going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for joining us. A reminder, we're firing up our playback room for a live Celtics-Bucks watch party tomorrow night at tip-off time, whenever it is. I think it's 7:30 p.m. East, thereabouts. Playback.tv/First of the Floor. Spoonie, Jake, love your work, guys. Until next time, go Celtics.
I love